Radio 418.
What's up, beautiful people? This is John Montagna. Every time I hear that jingle, it just makes me laugh. You're listening to Radio 418. This is my podcast where I speak to my fellow musicians about this life in music. And I want to thank you for joining us again. We took a little hiatus over the summer. Unfortunately, not completely voluntary. As you may or may not know, if you follow me on the socials there, my father-in-law passed away in August after a brief illness. And my wife and I want to extend our sincere thanks to all of you who've written in with your kind words of condolence and support. We spent most of the spring and the summer going back and forth between New York and Tucson, Arizona, where he lived. And fortunately, we came home to New York to the love and support of our tribe here in town. And we're looking forward to brighter days ahead. So once again, thank you all for your support and your patience. Today's episode is one that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Joey Molland, a legendary guitarist, singer, songwriter, and recording artist, is my guest today. I've had the privilege of working with Joey many times over the years, and I always love being on a gig with that guy for so many reasons, besides the fact that he's a great hang, sweetheart of a guy, super cool, super fun, and a tremendous musician. I mean, the dude just nails it every single night on stage. But the fact is, I'm also a major fan. I've been a hopeless Badfinger fan since I was 15 years old. Joey is perhaps best known for his work with Badfinger. It's the legendary group that was signed to the Beatles' Apple Records label. You know the hits. Come and Get It, No Matter What, Day After Day, Baby Blue. I've just always loved their stuff. It's sort of unfair to just compare them to the Beatles, even though it's an easy comparison to make. It's two guitars, bass, and drums, and three distinctive voices in that band, vocally and as songwriters: Joey, Pete Ham, and Tom Evans. Pete and Tommy wrote and sang most of the hits, but Joey had some great songs in that band as well. They were always like these hidden gems in the albums. I Can Love You, Better Days, Suitcase, Sweet Tuesday Morning. Oh my God, Sweet Tuesday Morning from the Straight Up album. It's just, the music is just so deep. It's the perfect balance of like sweet and tough at the same time. They get lumped in with like power pop, but they were also a kick-ass rock and roll band as well. And we get into that a little bit in the conversation. But in any case, when I first got into them, it was the fall of 1987, sophomore year of high school. My father had the Straight Up album, and I wore that thing out, man. Straight Up was their third album for Apple Records. Magic Christian was the first one. Second one was No Dice. Straight Up is the album that's got Day After Day and Baby Blue on it. It was produced by Todd Rundgren. It's just so deep. The songwriting and the production on that record is just so strong. I was just blown away by it then, and I still love it now. I play that record about once a year on purpose, just to not get tired of it, you know what I mean? Usually in the fall, because it was the fall when I first heard it, and I always associate that music with, you know, the weather just starting to cool off, you know what I mean? In fact, I'm due to play that record. I'll probably put it on later today. But in any case, they did one more record for Apple called Ass. Yes, you heard that right. Some amazing tracks on that one. I Can Love You was my favorite Joey track, is on that one. Then they went to Warner Brothers. They did a handful of records for Warner Brothers. Those albums have been out of print for a long time. I've got Wish You Were Here as a Japanese import CD. I found that one in the 90s somewhere. It's killing. You know what? I don't know if the Warner stuff is out officially anywhere other than as imports, but it's worth checking out. But in any case, the Badfinger story, unfortunately, did not end well. It's a story that's been told many, many times elsewhere. I'm not going to rehash it here. But basically, the long and short of it is, if you're not familiar with their story, they got ripped off just about as badly as a band can get ripped off in this business. And it directly or indirectly led to both Pete Ham and Tom Evans taking their own lives. But I did not want to rehash the story of Badfinger with Joey, because that's not the context that I met him in. When we first started working together, it was 2003 on the Walk Down Abbey Road tour. This was an all-star Beatles tribute package tour that also featured Todd Rundgren, Christopher Cross, Denny Lane from Wings, and our old boss, Alan Parsons. And Joey did the Badfinger hits, and I somehow channeled my fanboy energy into just playing the shit out of the songs, which I did alongside my brothers in the Godfrey Townsend band. It was Godfrey Townsend on guitar, Steve Murphy on drums, Manny Focarazzo on keys, my running partners on so many of those tours. But in any case, Joey was just so chill and down to earth. We were immediately at ease with each other. He really made himself like one of the guys in the band. Joey's from Liverpool, so he has this way about him that's completely unpretentious. What you see is what you get. He's just one of the guys. He comes in with his guitar and gets the job done. But that job happens to be singing these massively legendary hit songs and keeping the flame of Badfinger alive. The drummer, Mike Gibbons, passed away a few years ago, and Joey is now the sole surviving member of that band. But it has always fascinated me the way Joey moves with such ease about him. He's proud of the band's legacy, but he doesn't strictly define himself by it. You know what I mean? You know, he's also done a bunch of solo albums. He just keeps writing songs and recording and playing shows, just doing it and living his best life. You know what I mean? Just always positive. And now he's working on a new solo album. It's being produced by Mark Hudson, who you'll know from the Hudson Brothers and his work with Aerosmith and his work with Ringo Starr. Produced some of the best Ringo solo albums ever, by the way, in my opinion, but that's another story for another time. But in any case, Joey and Mark Hudson, that's a great combination, if you ask me. They're funding the album through Kickstarter. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but in the meantime, feel free to click the link in the episode description and help to make that thing happen. So with a new album in the works and my love of his music as deep as it was years ago, I wanted to talk to Joey and find out what makes him tick, what's been keeping him inspired and motivated all of these years. So I want to thank Susan Nuzzi-Russo of Four Chord Consulting for making this happen. Joey's on tour at the moment with a show called It Was 50 Years Ago Today. It's an all-star tribute to the White Album that features our old buddies Todd Rundgren and Christopher Cross, alongside Mickey Dolenz and Jason Scheff, formerly of Chicago. Joey called in from Atlantic City on the day before the tour started, and we had a great conversation. Nothing hugely revelatory, but I kind of gained a lot more respect for Joey after we spoke. As great as Badfinger was, and as important as they are, I feel like that's a small part of his story as a human being and a musician and an artist. So, like I said, I've been waiting a long time to do this one. 47-year-old me is very pleased that this all worked out, but 15-year-old me is losing it right now. This is Joey Molland.
Radio 418. And if it comes and we're all gone, then I'll know how to try. Then I'll take my heart and run. Then I'll run and hide. It's all I wanna do is make love to you.
All right, you comfortable?
I am.
All right, let's do it, man. So tell me about this tour that you're on. This is the 50 years ago today White Album tribute thing.
Yeah, basically that's what it is, a tribute to the White Album, the Beatle album.
Yeah.
A bunch of guys, bunch of people that I'm sure you know. Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees.
Yeah.
Todd Rundgren.
Yep.
Jason Sheff from Chicago.
Yeah.
Incredible singer. And Christopher Cross.
Yeah.
Sailing.
Yeah, man.
And myself. The promoters of going Toby Ludwig and Ron Hausfeld, they asked us to pick 4 or 5 of the songs from the record, or 5 or 6 from the White Album that we'd like to do in a show. And we sent our stuff in, and they sorted us all out. We've got a great backup band from the Rain show, Joey C.
Excellent.
And some guys like that, Todd's keyboard players along, Gil, and everybody's been super sweet. Todd, been great. He and I are singing Baby Blue together.
Sweet.
So it's a lot of fun, man. Everybody's doing the best song on those Beatles songs. You know, it's funny, doing Beatles songs, we all sing them in the kitchen, you know?
Right.
We all sing them on the bus, or we sing them when we hear them. But actually going out and performing them is something quite different.
Right.
And we're all on the same page as that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because
right.
everybody knows them and how they go and all that stuff.
Right. Oh, that's funny.
So we've been rehearsing in Nashville.
Yeah.
And we're starting the tour tomorrow. Starting it at the Golden Nuggets in Atlantic City.
Fantastic.
And I'm looking out over the bay here, out onto the Atlantic. It's absolutely beautiful day.
Nice.
And, just getting a little rest before the show tomorrow. And here we are, and off we go.
Fantastic. What was your reaction when the White Album was first released? Like, did you have a specific connection to that record when it came out?
I wouldn't say that. No, but it was the next Beatle album, and of course there was the normal kind of the way we'd anticipate a new Beatle album, because we knew it was going to be different.
Right.
We knew it was going to be the Beatles, and we knew there were going to be some great songs that we absolutely loved on it.
Right.
And so it was a great buzz everywhere when a new Beatle record was coming. So that's how I was, just like all the people I know.
Right.
It was great to hear back in the USSR right off the bat. Starting with a Chuck Berry song, I thought it was always a good idea.
Right.
And, and then the Prudence, all of those songs, one after another, it was great. It got a little bit far out there with the number 9.
Right.
But it immediately made up for it with the beautiful Good Night with Ringo singing, So
Sure.
it was lovely, and I was happy to be around, that's for sure.
Sure. When that record came out, that was 1968. You were already playing in bands at that point, right? You were already a working musician.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I was in a band at that time called Gary Walker and the Rain,
Right.
Which was surrounding Gary Walker, that's from the Walker brothers. I was living in London, down in Chelsea. We had a little bit of a townhouse there.
Yeah.
I was starting to meet rock stars, and just was a very exciting time for me. I was 21 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a great thrill. I had a beautiful 1959 Les Paul Standard that I was playing.
Oh, sweet, sweet.
So I was just enjoying myself, you can imagine. It was a great time for us, just a great time. Seemed like the sun was always shining,
Yeah, yeah. So last summer, we went to England, my wife and I, my daughter, and my wife and I went up to Liverpool for 2 days just to see, because I figured, I've never been. I've been a Beatles freak my whole life, and I thought I should see this town and I should see where the Beatles come from. I want to get some of that Beatles mojo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I found out spending 2 days there was that it's the Beatles that have Liverpool mojo. You know what I mean? Like, Liverpool is its own thing. It's its own place. And there's a vibe there that goes way beyond. I mean, obviously the Beatles, we had a tour guide that showed us around. She's like, look, I grew up here, and it's sort of like the Beatles are automatically a part of your life. But I realized there's so much more to Liverpool than that. There's a character to that place and an attitude and a sensibility that I really, really loved. Now, you grew up
Yeah.
there, but you're a little bit younger than the Beatles were. So tell me a little bit about growing up in Liverpool in the time that you were there. Because by now, because you were born in, if Wikipedia is correct, you were born in 47.
Exactly, yeah.
So you're a little bit younger than those guys. So by the time you were coming up, tell me a little bit about growing up in Liverpool in that time, and what are some of the sort of conditions and the things that influenced you to pursue music as a career?
Well, I got the opportunity. I'd learned, I had a very normal working class upbringing.
Yeah.
Liverpool's very much a working class town.
Yeah.
My dad was in the army in the war, in the engineer corps.
Right.
And so he was still doing that when I was born and everything. I grew up around that, around the army and stuff.
Right.
Liverpool also is one of the biggest ports in the world.
Yeah.
At that time, the docks and everything.
Yeah.
I went through my education, just playing football in the streets, playing ollies in the gutters, marbles and stuff like that.
Right.
We did all the normal things that little boys do. We made bows and arrows, we made spears, we played cowboys and Indians. We did all that normal stuff.
Right.
It was great. People were very tolerant and very protective of the children. We were never confronted by any kind of quote unquote weirdos. You know what I mean?
I see.
It was easy for us to be relaxed and just running and playing. It was a great place for that. And we were raised with the feeling that we'd go through school, we'd leave school, get a job, get married, have our family, and live that life. That would be our life, really.
Yeah.
And that was okay. It was okay to do that. There wasn't the drive to go to university and all of that.
Right.
It was just a pretty normal thing. When I was 11 years old, I heard Elvis on the radio.
Yeah.
And, although my brother played in a band,
okay.
Before that, when I was 8, 9 years old, my brother was in a band, my brother Chris.
Right.
And I wasn't really that interested in music. I was much more interested in playing football and doing the normal things that a kid does. But when I was 11, I heard Elvis Presley singing Bruce Wayne Shoes on the radio. And for some reason, that switched me on. I mean, I literally went immediately in the front parlor of the house, of our house, took my brother's guitar out, which was a no-no, to fiddle with my brother's guitar,
Right.
I got the guitar out, and I started to teach myself to play. 4 years later, I was playing on street corners, and keeping on learning to play. I'd been out. I was 15 now. My schooling was over. I was going and playing on street corners because that's where I could learn to play the guitar with my friends.
Right.
And that's where we could play and make noise.
Right.
To be blunt with us.
Right.
So I was playing the guitar. And then I started to work. I got a job down on the docks, working for the shipping line, a Pacific Steam Navigation Company.
Right.
And I was an office boy, a messenger boy. And I would go on the ships, and the docks, it was great, and get the mail from all the different, the captain and the purser and all that stuff, the stewards, and get the mail and take it down to the head office downtown. I would have luncheon coupons. They used to give us these, like 50-cent coupons to go to lunch. They actually were $3. Right. And I would be able to go to lunch and find with these coupons. And one of the things I did while I was there was I started to go to the cavern. They had lunchtime sessions.
Got it.
And I couldn't believe how good the bands were, John. They were scary good.
Right.
To me, a young kind of playing the guitar. I wasn't dreaming about being a rock star, really. I would have loved to play in one of these bands, but I never thought I'd be good enough,
Interesting.
One day, I get a guy stops me in the street, and he says, "Are you Joey Molland?" And that's happened to me a few times since, actually. But he said to me in the street, "Are you Joey Molland?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Did you used to play the guitar on Penny Lane on the corner?"
Right.
And I said, "Yeah." And he said, have you still got a guitar? Or have you got a guitar? And I said, yeah, I do. And he said, do you want to come and play with us tonight?
Wow.
And that was how I started. I went and played with him with his band, the Profiles, they were called.
The Profiles, okay. So that was your first professional job.
That was my first job, and I got paid that night. I got £1, which was, £1 was 1/3 of my week's wages for working on the docks.
Right, right.
And they asked me back the next night, and they paid me another £1. And then they asked me the next night, and they paid me another £1. So here I was, I made a week's wages in 3 days playing Chuck Berry music and Buddy Holly and that, you know.
Right.
And that was the start of it all for me.
Nice.
It was very exciting. Now, all of this comes in Liverpool. There's a great attitude about music and about entertainment and about being really social with people. You get used to people telling you jokes. You get people, the pub doors are open. The curtains are open, so the light shines in the pub and the light shines out of the pub.
Got it.
Some of my first gigs playing in front of a bunch of people was in pubs.
Right.
The glass on, they send the glass around at the end of the night, and people will put whatever they thought in it.
Nice.
And that's how we made a bit of money doing that. After this really social attitude, where in Liverpool, the people, they all seem to be proud of each other.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially if somebody shows a bit of talent or is a decent bloke or he's funny or she's funny. And that's how people talk about each other in Liverpool. And there's a great camaraderie to the city.
Right.
And I think maybe that's what you're talking about when you say there was a thing there, you know.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. And, you probably experienced it. It's a little bit different in New York. I think you grew up in New York, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a similar. I picked up a similar vibe. A friend of mine, fellow Beatles fan. I was asking her. You've met her, Roseanne Beluso. Yeah. I was asking her about it because I knew she had been, and she says, "John, it's like the Brooklyn of England."
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Everybody's got a sense of humor. Everyone's very smart and sassy and sophisticated, but working class, very open-minded. Everybody's funny. We did the National Trust tours of Lennon and McCartney's childhood homes, right? So the van driver, I guess, there were two guys in the van who were asking them, who started to ask him a question. They had heavy accents. He says, "Look, I don't know Spanish, so if you're waiting for the answer, you're going to be waiting a long time." and the guys go, "Oh no, we are Norwegian." And the driver goes, "Well, you'll be waiting even longer then." Right? And I said, that sounds like the dialogue in A Hard Day's Night. Like that's the Beatle humor, that really quick. And it hit me like, wow. So this is, I was going around looking to see like all these Beatles landmarks, but then I realized, no. That's the character of the city was infused in them. And to us in America, it seemed really, really exotic, but I really loved it there. I love the character of the people there. Yeah.
I'm the same when I go back there now. I've been living in America since 1975.
Yeah. How often do you get back?
I get back every couple of years. I go play a few shows, play the Cavern and, play the Philharmonic or something.
Sure.
But every couple of years at least I get back there. They're nice enough to bring me.
Sure.
Bill Hassel and the guys, I've done that same tour.
Right.
Took me girl Mary with me last time. We did the tours. I actually slid down the banister in John Lennon's house. I just
nice.
It was really exciting. It was exciting to go there. Really a nice area where Johnny lived, doesn't it?
Oh, the Mendips, Aunt Mimi's house.
Yeah. Compare it to where Ringo grew up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Dingle.
The difference is amazing, yeah? Yeah.
Absolutely. We stayed in the city center, and then we took the bus out to the National Trust tours.
Sure,
and I asked the woman in the McCartney house, I said, so how did they get, here's a silly question, how did they get from here to the Cavern? She says, they took the bus. I was like, you mean
That's right, yeah.
the bus ride that we just took? They did that every night, like with their guitars and everything. And it made the story, this story I've been studying my whole life. It just took it brought a whole nother dimension to it, like a humanity to it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I used to tell my kids when they were, when they were little, you should learn to take the bus.
Right.
You can go anywhere you want if you can take the bus.
Right. Yeah. So you're coming out of that scene. If you could describe the sound of the music in Liverpool at that time, I mean, besides the Beatles at the Cavern and all that other stuff, all the other bands that were playing in those clubs, how would you describe like the character of that music? Was there a sound to it that all the bands had?
Yeah, there was. It was a very present sound, a very I hesitate to say in-your-face sound, but
right.
a very present, a very squashed-up sound. And it was very powerful. The singing was very powerful.
Right.
So, and they were good players. There were some extraordinary players around, Brian Griffith, Johnny Gustafson,
right.
great bass players and stuff. There was this kind of presence and the cheekiness of the Liverpool personality.
Right.
Not being afraid to get right up. And you know what? The microphone stands were all straight.
Okay.
Right? Just single post. And
Right.
you'd have to stand right into them and sing into it,
Right.
So it was like singing in somebody's face.
Right.
It was really kind of weird. There was that. But it was really the presence and the punchiness of the music drive. And there is something still about it. Did you go to the Casbah?
No, I didn't get to the Casbah. When I stopped in on the Cavern, and I went to the Jacaranda Club.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Jacaranda's got like a whole. It closed down for a bit, and then it reopened again about 5 years ago. And the guy who runs it now is this younger dude, Graham Stanley, and he was saying that, you know what, the Jacaranda's not a part of the Beatles' history. The Beatles are a part of the Jacaranda history. And they made this decision, rather than to turn it into like a touristy Beatles thing, they explored the history of that club and all the other the steel bands and all the other groups that used to come through there. And now they've got new bands that play there. They have a record shop upstairs. It's this great little spot that's got its own vibe, that's separate from the history,
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's great that they did that. It didn't just solely depend on the Beatle connection.
Yeah.
To get something going. Yeah, it's lovely. I like that. It's a bit of independence.
Yes. Yes.
But the reason I brought up the Casbah was I went there last time I was in Liverpool, and the Mersey Beats were playing as it happened.
Okay.
That night, and so the place was full packed. And it was the closest I've heard to what it was like in the old days, what bands sounded like. Just this really super present sound.
Right.
It sounded the same everywhere in the club because the crowd was dense. The atmosphere was dense.
Right.
There wasn't that much air in the room.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. I've heard that the Cavern was, obviously the Cavern I was in is not the original one, but I could see it. Like, it's a basement. It was sweaty. It was dark. I kind of got the idea, but it's not the same as it was. It's a different room.
It is. Oh yeah, for definite. But what brings the atmosphere of a place is the crowd, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that's the same anywhere in the world. The crowd makes the venue.
Totally.
It's not the other way around. But we just enjoyed that, and we were very enthused. We thought Liverpool bands were the best in the world.
Uh-huh.
We didn't care who you were or where you were from. We thought the Liverpool bands were the best. And I think we still think that in the back of our minds. And we were so proud of the Beatles, of course, because they did do great. And then they were great.
Right.
They were funny. They really were like they were from Liverpool,
Right.
So,
yeah, they didn't seem to change very much.
Yeah, it was a great time. And I met them, when I joined the Badfinger band, and I actually started to meet them, see them every day.
Sure.
And more and more, it became obvious that they hadn't changed.
Right.
They were just the same four blokes knocking around doing things. albeit that, Ringo would pull up in a limousine.
Yeah. Right.
George would drive up in his Mini
Right.
by himself. But they were dead normal people.
Right.
It's great.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were Gary Walker in the Rain, you did the Masterminds, and then you found out that the Ivies were auditioning guitar players? Is that what was happening?
Yeah, I did. A mate of mine, Billy Chinsley, who's a very close friend of Paul McCartney's,
Yeah.
and the rest of the Beatles, in fact.
Sure.
I played with Billy. I played in his backup band.
Okay.
When he was one of the males years. They'd had a record, Sorrow, with your long blonde hair and your eyes are blue.
Right.
That's a record by those guys. Anyway, so Billy, his bands had broken up and he was working at Apple doing
Right.
sessions, playing bass. He's a great bass player, a great singer. So Billy's doing sessions. He hears about the Ivies bass player leaving. He wants to get the job, so he goes down to see them, and he says he'd like to audition for the bass player job. And they tell him, "Well, Billy, we're not going to be looking for the bass player. Tommy's going to play bass, but we're looking for the guitar player now." So, sorry, man. He said, "Well, that's cool." He said, "Well, you know what? I know this guy, Joey Molland. You should get him. You should get that guy. He'd be great." And so Billy recommended me for the job. And I did go down and audition. I was a little bit negative about it. I like to play rock and roll music and rhythm and blues. And the Ivies weren't really that kind of band.
Right, right. Because Maybe Tomorrow, I guess, was on the charts already. And that's more of like a pop ballad kind of tune.
Yeah, and I listened to a bit of their stuff. It was very poppy.
Right.
And so I wasn't really excited to go. But my friends in Liverpool, Billy included, were telling me, "You should go, just try it." They do want to, and I found out when I got there that they wanted to be and have more rock and roll in the band. Pete wanted the band to be a rock and roll band, believe it or not.
I see.
So it worked to my advantage, all of that. That's what I played for them. I played a couple of rock and roll songs. I don't know, Johnny B. Gold or Bye Bye Johnny or one of them things. And they gave me the job. Gave me the job right away.
There you go.
I'm not a bad rhythm guitar player, so
Right.
I can bring a bit of that to the band. So I got the job, and there you go.
Okay, so that leads me to what was going to be my next question, but what you already answered it. Like, what do you think it was that you brought to the sound of that band? But I think anyone who listens to the Ivies stuff versus like the first quote unquote Badfinger record, is clearly the sound got a lot tougher once you were in there. I was looking at a clip online today, actually, some kind of TV show where you guys were playing Better Days, your song Better Days.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't know what year it was from or what show it was. Tommy's playing the white Fender Jazz bass and he's got a beard. And I was like, well, these guys are a kick-ass rock and roll band. I mean, this is like the beat music from the Cavern. These guys were kicking.
Yeah, and music was changing a bit, wasn't it, then as well? It was getting a bit jammy.
Right.
And we were doing 90-day tours as well, 60 gigs.
Right.
So I think you're talking about the BBC show.
Yeah.
And, the band does sound good and smoking in there. I mean, obviously it wasn't all me. Mike was a hell of a drummer, and he played the crap out of the guitar.
Very underrated lead guitarist, Pete Ham is.
Yeah, and an unbelievable slide player too, man.
That's right.
Really, really stunning. And he didn't change guitars to do that. He played on an SG standard along with a low action. The only thing we changed when we played slide, either of us, we tuned the E string, the high E, down the D.
Okay.
That was the only change we made. And but Pete was a very underrated guitar player. Stunning, and we stretched him. We stretched each other, I think.
Yeah.
In the music, the performances were really vital.
Yeah.
And you know what? We were playing with a lot of great bands in those days in America.
Right.
Bands, and they were smoking the bands over here. The level of musicianship was incredible.
Right.
Incredible. So it really made us work hard. So I've got really a lot of American bands to thank for us being any good at all. So,
do you think that part of the band's legacy is overlooked? Just never. I mean, because I'm not going to ask you a ton of Badfinger questions because I feel like that story's been told many, many times and people can look it up. But I feel like there's a whole other side to that band that people forget, that like just when they got down to it, they were just a kick-ass 4-piece rock and roll band as well. And people tend to overlook that. Do you feel that way, that like?
Yes, well, yeah, people don't really talk about that side of the band, but and it was something we always wanted. I suppose like every other band, you want people to say they're a great band, those guys, when they do rock out.
Sure.
And it was something that we really wanted. And I'm not sure if it was ever ignored, but the other side of the band, the pop band, and the songwriting side of the band has always been at the forefront of it. And I can't argue with that, because although what we did, all of us, was write the best stuff we could and do it the best we could.
Right.
In the studio, there wasn't any real leader in the band. We just wrote what we had, and the band used it.
Right.
So if that's what leads to being a great band, I think we want people to talk about us like that. Yeah, we do. And in answer to your question, so I didn't sweat about it, but it was something that we really wanted.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that was my next question. I mean, the only Badfinger question I wanted to ask was, since I've started working with artists like yourself and Todd, and then these are guys that I grew up listening to, reading about. Then I start to meet them and I start asking them about like the stories that I've read. And then you start talking to these people in real life and you find out that there's like a whole other side to the story that doesn't get told. And a lot of times what you read isn't the full story. Do you feel like there are any misconceptions about Badfinger that people don't understand, or that they don't get right in terms of the story? Are there elements to that, to your legacy with that group, that you feel like are that get overlooked? Is there something that you wish people that you would like people to understand about that group?
I suppose, John, it was very much a 4-piece band. There were very much, very definitely 4 people in the band playing, all contributing to what happened. A lot of people have dwelled on Peter and Tommy's so-called collaborative efforts. But when you look at the history of the band, there's very little of that. But in the studio and on the stage, that's what we did. It was a 4-piece band playing. Yeah. So that's a bit of a misconception.
Four-way split. It was equal contributions musically.
Yeah, everybody put in. If this guy wrote the song, then okay, that's great. But everybody threw a line in. Everybody put their guitar bits or their bass bits or their drum bits in it. You know what I mean? Pete played lead on my songs. I played lead on his. Yeah. Because you can't sing and play lead at the same time. Sure. It's just the way it is. You know? Right. And all of that. There wasn't any, hey, I'm doing that. It wasn't about that. Or I definitely want to do this song. It was just, I've got this song, and this is how it goes. And then we'd spend our time in the studio working it out as a 4-piece band, playing it with the headphones and listening to what everybody else was playing and working out parts. We didn't do backtrack and then overdub the parts. We made the parts up as we were developing the song. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that maybe answers your question.
Yeah.
Or your question a bit about Badfinger. Yeah. It's a good story. We had a great time. People were kind of like it was really sad, and of course what happened to Pete and Tommy was sad. Yeah. But the story of the band is one of success, huge success, and we were walking around floating on air, enjoying it. Yeah. We know what happened in the band. We know how we got along.
Yeah.
We know the stories and people do on, sensational stuff. But really, we were just a focus and really enjoying ourselves. The standard of the success we had and the look of it. I mean, being out of all the bands in the world, we were the band that got signed, and we were the band that made records with George and John and all that stuff.
Right.
So it was, imagine that when we were young guys. It was incredible. We were playing all the great venues, Carnegie Hall, all that stuff.
Right.
Selling them out. It was great. We couldn't believe it. We were kind of a bit paranoid about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if all bands are like that. But you get paranoid, you know what I mean?
Well, sure. Yeah, you're trying to process this experience.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. You're not used to it. We didn't know how to go and get into a band for free, go in and see a band for free.
Right.
Because we never had that experience.
Uh-huh.
The managers who treated us like rock stars and got us limousines everywhere, we never had that. Our
Right.
manager just always treated us like we worked at the local shop. We played the guitar on the weekend,
So your heads didn't get too big.
Yeah, we did. I wonder what we would have been like if we would have got that.
That's
But at the same time, it was lovely, going to the pawn shops, pawnbrokers, and finding cheap guitars, doing all those things that the musos, the way we all love to do that,
right.
It was great.
That's really cool, because I think for a lot of years, as the story of Badfinger would go around, and people would go, "Oh, Badfinger! Oh, what a tough story." But I think the fact that you've got such positive memories of the times when you were together, and of the work that you did, I think that's a beautiful thing that you've got those memories and that feeling about it. Do you think that attitude of yours, that positivity, is what has kept you going all these years? I mean, here we are, it's 2019, and you're how old?
I'm 72.
My man,
No,
you wear it well, my friend, and you're still out there, and you're still playing and singing and sounding great and feeling great. What accounts for that? What has kept you energized all these years and inspired?
I've always loved the music. I told you, when I heard Blue Suede Shoes,
Yeah.
it really switched me on.
Yeah.
It was the guy who got up from that table that day was different to the guy that had sat down.
Wow.
I went right in and got the guitar out and started to learn to play. Not with the idea of being a rock star, but because I just love this music or something.
Right.
I had no idea about it. I didn't know about Chuck Berry or I've never really heard of Carl Pearsons. I've never heard of them. But I had all that to come and find and all that stuff out. And all my life's been like that. I still really enjoy Chuck Berry songs, and I toy with the idea about having a Chuck Berry band. The way there's tribute bands all over the place. I'd like to play Chuck Berry songs. When I was in the Masterminds, one of them, we used to do 45-minute Chuck Berry sets.
Nice.
We'd play nothing but Chuck Berry. I was learning my rhythm parts and learning to play those Chuck Berry licks. It was just extraordinary, the amount of fun I had doing it. Tremendous amount. And then I started making money. What are you going to do? It's a dream, and it's still a dream.
Right.
I'm staying at the Milton Hotel here. I've got a room on the 25th floor. My view is out over the day here. It's really beautiful. It's a lot better than the outside view up it. I'll tell you that. So it's like a dream world still to this day. It's just
That's
fantastic.
great. That's so great, man. Tell me about this new album that you're working on. I was initially when I saw Susan on Facebook posting pictures of Joey and Mark Hudson are in the studio making a record. My initial reaction was like, oh man, I wish I was playing bass on that session. And then, and then I thought like, no, wait a second. A new Joey Molland album. This is going to be great. Why am I feeling anything but excited about this? You know what I mean? So
sweet, John. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. So tell me about it. What inspired you to make a record again? And, all of it. How did the project start?
Well, I'm a write songs. I've been writing songs all my life, and I still write songs. So I had shows. I do some shows at the Beatles conventions.
Right.
I don't do them all. I do one once in a while.
Right.
I do them all if I was invited, but I'm not invited anymore. But anyway, a few of them I've met Mark Hudson at.
Right.
And as you know, he's a zany, highly entertaining, fun guy.
Right.
And supremely talented.
Right.
He's an incredible singer. And just a great guy to be around. And he'd always come up on stage when I was doing no matter what. And
Right.
sing the high harmonies with me.
Right.
And we just generated that. And we got to be friends.
Yeah.
And so, what are you doing? What are you up to? At the same time, I have some friends of mine in Minneapolis with a recording studio told me that if they didn't never worked on Tuesday night.
Right.
The rest of the week they were making commercials and stuff, just commercials for stuff. And they asked me, look, we don't do anything on Tuesday nights. If you want to come down there on Tuesday night and bring us a new song, we learn it and record it for nothing, free.
Yeah.
And so, I did. I had a couple of songs as it happened, and I brought them down and we recorded them, and it was fun. It was just great fun. A couple of beers, you know what I mean, and a laugh with your mates, and we recorded a song and go home. Everybody was happy, and this went on and on and on and on. I ended up with 38 tunes in the bag.
Oh my God!
So as the relationship was developing with Mark, I was generating all of these songs. Well, the opportunity was generating it. And then eventually we got to talk about recording, Mark and I, and he said, have you got any tunes? So I sent him my stash. And he listened to them all and picked out 10, 12 songs. And we decided to go in the studio, and we went in and we did it.
Nice.
We recorded 10 songs. Some great people came. The drummer from Wings, Steve Holly,
right,
came, and guitar player Jay Shepard, I think a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Paul Santos, Benny Hallison, and we recorded all the backtracks, rough vocals and everything. Mario McNulty engineered. And everybody was really excited. Everybody was saying to me how great these songs were.
Nice.
And so it took a bit of a life of its own.
Nice.
Then we ran out of money.
Right.
So we met Susan. Mark already knew Susan Russo.
Sure.
And she came down and she loved what was going on, and suggested that maybe we try and start some kind of Kickstarter fundraiser.
Right.
To raise the fun thing. And so we've got that going now. The money's coming in. We're doing quite well with it. We need more, everybody. We need more.
Right.
But,
right.
But that's basically what's happened there. From my side, and then I'm very excited. To me, it sounds like a new record.
Yeah.
It actually sounds like an album song. And of course, that's because Hudson is such a great producer.
Yeah.
And he's teaching me production at the same time, just watching him work.
Right.
The focus of it, the attitude of making a record from the very first beat.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it really does make a big difference. But so that the whole thing's become an exciting kind of learning experience. And I'm 72 years old, and here I am making a new record.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really made up.
And,
I can't wait for people to hear it.
That's great.
And hear what they think of it, you know.
Sure.
And who knows, I might be hitting there somewhere, you know. Yeah, it's all been a nice process. People coming in, they've enjoyed the Badfinger stuff. and songs they were written in the past, and they were kind of excited to come in and play, and they're putting their 10% in. It's fantastic, really.
That's fantastic. That's so great to hear your enthusiasm for the project, because usually right about now is where people are like, oh my God, I just want this thing to be done already. But you're like, it sounds like you're very enthusiastic and enjoying the process.
I am. I'm like I say, the guy who sat down at that table and heard Elvis.
Yeah.
He went away somewhere. This other guy got up who loves it. I'm gonna love it till the day I die. There's no way around it. There's no way out of it.
Nice.
And for the Badfinger experience and the rough bit where we took all the money and all the things, the business people. But and there were times after that where I wanted to just get a job. And go and do what I believed I was born to do, really, just work and raise my family. My wife, Kathy, would not allow me to think like that.
Really?
Yeah, she was so strong for me and really, really helped me through some really tough periods, which is what a wife does. What a woman in Asia does. She was great. And I did stick it out, and here we are now, all these years later. A gig would show up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
The way it is, the phone rings, and all of a sudden you're on your bus to Miami to make a record, or
Yeah.
It was really fantastic life.
That's
Incredible.
beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Is there anything that you haven't done yet that you'd like to do still? Anything on the horizon that you've that you want to try out that might be new to you?
I could think of a few things, John, but really, all I want to do is keep on going and keep working and I'd like to do a bit of good.
Yeah.
I'd like to help people who need help and encourage other people to help people who need help.
Yeah.
I'm a bit, I'm not like everybody else. I'm concerned about the world and the politics of it. So who knows, one thing, the record would afford me an opportunity to do that. But I'm really happy. I've got a beautiful girl now. My wife, Kathy, passed away, as you know.
Yeah, I'm very sorry about that.
I've been fortunate to meet Mary. Mary, I call her Mary Joyce. And so Mary and I are very happy doing what we do. We've got an antique store and stuff.
Really?
Like that.
Where in Minnesota?
Yeah, in St. Paul. Yeah. Joe Antiques, and it's just great fun. We like to go out rummaging and the goodwill stores, and the thrift stores, the yard sales, and all of that, flea markets. And so over the years, we've collected, 1,000 brass monkeys. And so we've got to do something with them. So we've opened an antique store. We're doing that. It's great fun.
Nice. Oh, that's so fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing the new album, and I'm looking forward to helping spread the word about it, and get some more people donating. Yeah, you got it. And I want to thank you for like years and years and years of fantastic music, and for being a great guy to work with, and for having such a positive attitude. There's so much that we can learn watching a guy like yourself, man. Just not losing the passion for what's important to them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You can't lose that. You can't, and it gives us so much back, doesn't it?
That's
right.
right.
You know what I mean? That's right.
You
know the same when you're out there playing your bass and singing, doing all that. You do every bit as good a job as I ever did.
Yeah.
And I know you bring that same enthusiasm yourself. So knockout is, and it is knockout, man.
Yeah.
Radio 418.
How about that? Joey Molland. It was a thrill to talk to one of my musical heroes, but it was also great to hear a guy that stays humble, stays positive. Man, remember what's important to you, folks. Remember what you were called here to do. You know what I'm saying? It's awesome. You can go to Kickstarter.com and search Joey Molland, or you can click the link in the episode description and donate a few dollars to fund the new album. The campaign closes on October 9th, and it's looking like they're going to cross the finish line. But that's no excuse not to kick something in if you believe in it. You know what I mean? In the meantime, check out some Badfinger if you don't already have some. The Apple Records stuff is great, but the Warner Brothers albums are also excellent. Find yourself a copy of Wish You Were Here, if you can, and get back to me. The website for the podcast is radio418.com. That's radio418.com. You probably already know that if you're listening to the show through the website. We're available on iTunes as well, and on many other places where you get your podcasts. Drop me a line at radio418@gmail.com, radio418@gmail.com, to ask me anything, tell me anything, man. Follow me on Twitter, @JohnMon. The Instagram is John Montagna. Feel free to correspond with me on those two platforms and use the hashtag Radio418, hashtag RADIO418. Get that hashtag into circulation. The podcast can also be heard on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/John Montagna Music. And if you're listening to it on YouTube, you already know this, of course. But while you're there, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel to see all my videos, the Beatles CD reviews, the ride jams, performance clips, all of it. Facebook page is facebook.com/John Montagna Music. But anything and everything you want to know about me and what I'm doing is at my website, johnmontagna.com. So thank you so much for listening to Radio 418. I will see you on the next one. Be well.
Radio 418.